Ahoy hoy, this is Michaela from Team Retrog, where we like retro games and we like the devices that bring them to us. So I spent 2 videos upgrading the Retroflag GPi Case from a Raspberry Pi 02 to a Raspberry Pi 02W. And in that video, I had expressed some concerns that I had with the device, mainly that it uses AA batteries, and the Raspberry Pi 02, while vastly improving the functionality of the system, still struggled with N64 and Dreamcast performance. Well, this box that I am struggling to open delivers a device that offers an improvement on both of those gripes, and that would be the Retroflag GPi Case 2. And while it may look the same as the original, it has some very vast differences under the hood. This case is actually dockable, and if you get the deluxe version of the GPi Case 2, you do get a dock that goes with it. You have a built-in lithium-ion battery that is powered by USB-C. And instead of being powered by a Raspberry Pi Zero, this is actually going to be powered by a Raspberry Pi CM4. So you'll have the full functionality of a Raspberry Pi 4, but in that compute module form factor. I paid about $89.99 for the GPi Case 2, and then unfortunately I had to pay about $60 for the Raspberry Pi CM4 just because supply chain is causing Raspberry Pi units to become less and less available. But in this video we're going to put everything together. I'll show you a short installation tutorial, we'll get Recalbox on it, and we'll install all the necessary shutdown scripts and everything we need to do to get this running. And I don't want this video to run too long, so I'll put out a part 2 where we set up emulation and a part 3 where we review the device to see if it's worth upgrading or purchasing. Alright, we've already jumped into the box, we've already looked at the literature, so let's jump in and let's get started. Now, before we actually get into the content of this video, I just want to take a quick second and acknowledge the fact that the channel has reached 500 subscribers. And I know that's a small number by YouTube standards, but for a semi-new channel like me, being able to say that 500 people enjoy my content enough to subscribe to that channel actually means a lot to me. And as the channel continues to grow, I hope that I can continue to provide content that you will watch and enjoy. And as promised, I will be doing a giveaway at the end of this video as a thank you to those who have subscribed to my channel. Alright, let's get back to the unboxing. So during the introduction, you saw the literature that came packaged. Here's the USB-C cable. And because I did order the deluxe version of the GPi case, I did get this nifty little dock so that I can also use this system connected to a television or a monitor. And this is the dock. It looks like there's a spring in place here which pushes this bump down when you put the system on it, and it's got a nice little coating on the bottom as well as 2 USB ports, the DC in and the HDMI out. If you want to save $20, you can opt to get the GPi Case 2 without this dock attached. Now let's take a look at the device itself. Just like the last GPi case, you got this nifty little Retroflag bag that it comes in. And the bag does seem like it would protect the unit from scratches, but maybe not necessarily from drops. And here's the actual unit itself. At first glance, it actually looks like the original GPi Case 1. However, there are some fundamental changes here. Instead of a 2.8-inch screen, you have a 3-inch screen that actually is capable of 480p. And on the back, you'll notice that the battery case is gone because now we're using a rechargeable lithium-ion battery. L and R buttons still seem to be the same. They use the same D-pad as in the last unit, which I never had any complaints about. The D-pad does still feel comfortable, and it still looks like an original Game Boy. And no complaints about the buttons either. If you're looking for an authentic Game Boy experience, this device comes very close, just like the original GPi case did. There's a couple of new buttons here. You have a hotkey button, a turbo button, and a sleep wake button on the top. And perhaps one of the most important changes is you don't have a cartridge slot housing a Pi 0 or Pi 02. You actually have a cover that houses the section of the unit where the CM4 and the SD card will go. Now that we know what we're working with, let's prep for installation and setup. Now this device does not come with a Raspberry Pi. You're going to have to supply your own. So I grabbed a Raspberry Pi CM4 Lite. This particular model has 1 gigabyte of RAM, no Wi-Fi, and no hard drive space. And you can get Raspberry Pi CM4 models that have 2, 4, or maybe even 8 gigs of RAM. And some of these units have built-in wireless and also have some storage space on them, but Raspberry Pi units are getting harder to find because of supply chain issues due to COVID. And I know at about $60 I overpaid for this little device. The 1 gigabyte lights are only supposed to cost about $30. So I ended up ultimately paying double what I should have paid. Unfortunately, like everything else, supply chain issues are causing prices to go up and people to resell these things on eBay at an inflated price. So it is what it is. We got the CM4, so let's go ahead and install it. Back on the GPi unit, let's go ahead and take the back case off. And installation of the CM4 is fairly easy, but it's hard to show on camera because most of the installation is going to be obscured by the back case. But it's as simple as taking the unit and lining up the chips on the board with the outlines and squares in the case, and you're just going to put this unit in and line it up properly. And you just want to carefully push down with your fingers so that the CM4 locks into place using the 2 connectors on the top and bottom of the unit. And if you see here, I'm actually going to pick the unit up on purpose and tilt it a little bit so you could see the CM4 pops out a little bit. That means that I did not put the unit in place properly. So be careful and put just enough force that you need to. You'll actually hear a pretty audible click when it snaps into place. And when the CM4 is properly seated, you can move the unit around as necessary and it won't pop out of place. It looks like it's in there pretty good now. So now that the Pi CM4 is properly installed in the GPi Case 2, let's go ahead and move over to the computer and let's set up our SD card. On our Windows PC, we're actually going to use Raspberry Pi Imager. I'll leave a link in the description to this specific program. And under Operating System, we're going to pick Emulation and Game OS. We're going to pick Recalbox. And we're going to pick Recalbox for the Raspberry Pi 4/400. There are some GPi Case images, but those won't work for the GPi Case 2. We will have to install those scripts manually. But the upside to this is that we're using the same Recalbox image that would go on the full-size Raspberry Pi 4. Let's go ahead and pick our SD card. I'm using a 128 gigabyte card. And then go ahead and click Write. It'll ask you if you want to continue. Go ahead and commit. And the Raspberry Pi Imager will download and write the image right to the SD card. Couldn't be any easier. This will take a little bit of time, so grab a cup of coffee or your beverage of choice, use the bathroom, and when this is done, we will come on back. Once it's done writing, it will verify the image and we'll be good to go. Once the Raspberry Pi Imager is done, it will automatically eject the SD card, so we'll need to plug it back in, and then we'll need to navigate to the Retroflag website. And from there, let's click on Support, and that will take us to a download page where we can actually download the GPi Case 2 patch for Recalbox. So go ahead and click the big green download button, and it will download those scripts. Once the file is downloaded, go ahead and extract it. And you'll end up with this folder called GPi Case 2 patch, and we want Recalbox 8.0. We actually want to take this entire folder and we want to place it in the Recalbox partition of the SD card. Once the folder is copied over to the SD card, double-click it and double-click Install Patch.bat. This script box will come up that says Successful Configuration. Go ahead and press any key and we are good to go. Let's go ahead and get this SD card installed. Now, installing the SD card is a little different than other devices. You actually have to place the card on top of the connecting pins, and then you have to close this door over it. It's a little bit more complex and may require a little bit more fidgeting than your typical SD card slot, but once you get it in, it will latch into place. I found that I really only wanted to take this SD card out 1 or 2 times because of how difficult it actually is. Alright, let's go ahead and power on the unit. Now at first you might think that you didn't install anything correctly because it will take a minute or so before anything pops up on the screen, but eventually you will get a screen that shows that Recalbox is installing. I'm actually purposely not speeding up this video because I want you to see how long it takes until you actually get a screen. And it'll probably take about 30 seconds to a minute, but then you will get that Welcome to Recalbox install screen. And you could see this is not a customized image meant for something like a Raspberry Pi Zero or a Raspberry Pi Zero 2. This is a full working version of Recalbox that is actually meant to go on a full-size Raspberry Pi 4. You may want to keep this plugged in while the setup is running, but what's happening here is it's not only getting the front end set up, but it's also creating a share partition for you to plug the SD card back into your computer to load ROMs onto. So this is going to take a little bit of time, so just let it run, walk away from a minute if you need to, and then come on back once it's set up. Alright, here we are back at the home screen. So our next step would be to put ROMs on this device. And you can do that easily by shutting off the GPi Case 2. Since we didn't install the scripts, we're going to have to go to the Start menu and Quit, and then Shut Down System. And when you plug the SD card back into your hard drive, there's now going to be a share partition on the SD card. And in my starter guide for the original GPi case, I show you how to put ROMs and themes on this device. And it's going to be the exact same process here. So if you need to figure out how to do that, go and check that other video and then come on back here. Now this last step involves installing the safe shutdown script, and we need the GPi Case 2 to be connected to the internet. And we also need a USB keyboard connected. Now, you can't use the dock that comes with this device unless you opted to get a Pi CM4 that has built-in Wi-Fi. So because I didn't, I got one with Wi-Fi not built in. I used a USB-C to USB hub that actually had an Ethernet port connected. And even though you can't see the hub, I couldn't film that and the screen at the same time. You could see that I am connected to the internet here. I'll leave a link in the video description in case you're in the same boat and you have a CM4 without Wi-Fi. If you have one with Wi-Fi, you can use the network settings option and connect normally. With our USB keyboard connected, we're going to hit F4 and then Alt and F2. That will take you to a login screen. So what you're going to do here is for login, you're going to type root. And for the password, you're going to type in Recalbox root. Again, you're going to be doing this on the USB keyboard that you attach to the device through a hub or a dock. And once you hit enter after putting in the password, the device will seem like it's doing nothing, but the cursor will be underneath the letter P in password. That's actually your cue that the password was accepted, so now we can type in the download script for the safe shutdown. And I'll put this script into the video description, and I will also link to the GitHub page so that you have access to this information. Once you've typed in the script, go ahead and press enter, and if you're connected to the internet, it will connect and download the safe shutdown for you. And you might have been working on setting up this case for a while and really need to use the bathroom, so now is a good time to walk away for a couple minutes. When the script is done, the device will automatically restart and it should be set up and good to go. And here we are back on the home screen. I'm just going to go ahead and manually turn the device off, and you're going to see really quickly this Recalbox text is going to show up and the device is going to shut off safely. And let's just end with a quick test of a game. Here's Dr. Mario 64 running on the Mupin 64 Plus Next standalone. And with the Raspberry Pi 02 on the original GPi case, this game actually gave me a lot of trouble and had some graphical issues. But here with the GPi Case 2, it's actually working just fine. I'm just notoriously bad at Dr. Mario. But then I guess it's my fault for starting the game at level 10 anyways. Alright, and that'll do it for this video. Let's go ahead and get to the giveaway. So the first thing I'm actually giving away is a GameSir X2 Bluetooth telescopic controller for a phone. I had done a video on this back in June when the channel was just getting started. And although I really liked the controller, it didn't seem to be compatible with many of the phone cases that I was using. And I kind of discovered that I didn't really like gaming on my iPhone anyway, so I kind of put this away and haven't touched it in a long time. But you could see it comes with all the accessories. I never touched the charger, and if you win this giveaway, you'll get the original box, you'll get the carrying case, and I'll make sure to clean the controller before I give it away, but it doesn't really have a ton of fingerprints on it anyway because I barely ever used it, and I'm not going to be leaving myself out of the iPhone gaming world because I did end up picking up a Razer Kishi down the line, so I use that more than anything else. And I'll probably end up picking up an Onin Lite at some point down the line, so any of my mobile gaming that I usually do, I would probably do on that device over my iPhone anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and add this to the giveaway. So the next thing I'm giving away is a ZAG Glass Plus screen protector for a Nintendo Switch Lite. I originally purchased this for the Dialga Palkia Switch Lite that I took a look at last week. And I mentioned that the screen protector was not installed properly, so it bubbled up and I ultimately ended up taking it off. And this is the unopened warranty replacement for that ZAG. You could see here it's still sealed, so if you want a glass screen protector for your Nintendo Switch Lite, this will be part of the giveaway. And finally, I'm giving away a full set of Splatoon amiibo. I have the Inkling Boy, Inkling Girl, Callie Marie, and the Squid. I was into Splatoon a couple years back, but I since dropped off of that series, and I don't plan to get Splatoon 3 at any point. And even if I did, these amiibo aren't really necessary for me to hang on to because I do have an action replay device that lets me simulate amiibo figures that I don't have or can't get my hands on. They don't really make these amiibo anymore, so I imagine that they probably are worth something, but I would rather they end up in the hands of somebody that would actually use them as opposed to getting sold or given to somebody who's going to ultimately resell them. So if you like Splatoon and you're into collecting these amiibo, then I will make them part of the giveaway as well. Now, I'm only going to be giving away to winners in the US for shipping purposes. So if you are outside of the US, I apologize. You will not be able to enter this contest. But if you are in the US and any of these items interest you, there will be a link in the video description on how to enter the giveaway. Alright, but that'll wrap it up for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions or thoughts in the comments below, and please feel free to continue the conversation by joining the Budget Aquaman Discord. Link will be in the video description. And if you're entering the giveaway, then best of luck. And if this video was helpful to you in any way, please be sure to like and subscribe. Until next time, bye for now, and don't stop believing.